thank you all for joining us here. Yes. And also thank you, Marije, for the last discussion you had with us. I get to know you. And as I told you, I would like you to meet also Artemis, which happens to be a childhood friend. If I can say something personal, if society is a child, I consider you both very good parents for this society, because you can have to give something very beautiful. So I'm very happy that I have two beautiful parents with us tonight, if we are all in society.
Thank you.
And what is interesting for me, and my start is from there, is that you come from different climates and societies, cultures, but I feel that you have a similar goal, and the goal is what I wrote also, is that living today mindful of and with care for tomorrow. And by this, I wanted to start with the theme of a personal mountain, because I think everyone who has a goal, who has a passion, has this mountain, and it's a beautiful thing. And what I would like to know in the start is, what were your first challenges in this path towards sustainability? So who wants to start? Or it's a dialogue, of course, but
I can go, but I would, if it's okay, I would like to hear Marije's introduction about herself.
Okay.
If that's okay, because I have looked you up and I looked into your work, but it's very different when someone explains what they do, right? So I would love to hear that first,
Yes,
and then maybe we can jump into it.
Yes. So so I have been I think about 26 years ago, I graduated as a cabinet maker. And then I started working at a company who were not like a original, like traditional crafters in making furniture. But I started working at the company called Fiction Factory, and they make custom built interiors. And the reason why I stayed there for 25 years was because every day I could build something new. And and I've been building temporary interiors for big companies all over the world. And but in 2018, I took a year off, because I started there one day as a cabinet maker, but then became a project manager and senior project manager, and then did a lot of things. But then I sort of like, is this it, sort of, right? And then I took a year off and I did things for 1 year that I've never done before. So I played on theater, and really like on stage, right? I didn't build the background, but I played as an actor there, and all different things. And one of the things that I also did was doing research in circular economy and in circular exhibition building at the Rijksmuseum. And there it really hit me that with my craftsmanship and all the skills that I have, that actually within the company that I work for, with this temporarily interiors that I built, was that I actually built a lot of waste. So, and this realization that, this long career of building amazing stuff has been resulting only in waste, sort of gave me this feeling of disillusion or something, right? So it was like, okay, so overthinking my career, but also overthinking the beautiful things that I made, and then resulting in this was sort of like, it really hit me into my face that I since then I've been using my craftsmanship to do better, to become this mom, to sort of like protect, but actually not to protect the earth, because the earth will save itself, but to protect other crafters, to have this same feeling as I have. So, and I've been pushing this craft creativity to do better. This is who I am. And I'm now having a consultancy company. I try to set up new systems by creating platforms for exchange of materials. And I also share knowledge about the sustainability of materials. So I'm doing calculations on CO2 level and a bit of the nerdy stuff. So this is what I do.
How many years ago was that the realization?
So that was in 2018.
2018. And was it sparked because you had started to research circular economies, or did it kind of follow?
No, it's really sparse. So I was really sitting in one of the towers. I don't know if you ever been in the Rijksmuseum, but this is like an old building and they have these little towers. And there I had a desk, so it was super nice. No window, but okay. You know, in this museum, they save stuff, right? They take care of it. They treasure it, and it's kind of funny that I've been building a lot of exhibitions there. And if so they have the top building, like on the street, you go there, but in the dungeon, sort of, right? So there is like the logistics done, and there you also have like the big bin where you throw away your exhibition that you built it. So, and I found it. Of course, I know that if I build a pedestal where you have a Bernini statue on it, you look at the Bernini statue and not at my pedestal. I understand that. I'm not this big artist. But it's kind of strange but I'm also a crafter. I'm also a designer, and that my part is thrown away, and that this Bernini statue is saved like in a most amazing way and documented and restored. And I thought, well, I do not aim to be Bernini, but it's sort of like really sad to realize it, that we know how to do it, because we put value in this statue, but why not put value in my pedestal? So now I try to give it value. Yeah. And you tell me a little bit more about you then. That's also good. Where do you come from?
My story doesn't go so much back. I'm an architect, and I studied in New York. I can tell a bit of my story as well, but I studied in New York. I spent 6 years there studying and working, and I was feeling very uncomfortable with what I was doing. I didn't know why. I couldn't pinpoint why. But then I had to come back to Cyprus because of visa and all that. And I came back in the middle of an economic crisis. And I didn't really have much to do. And then I went to I saw a workshop being advertised about building a new building with adobe bricks. Adobe bricks are these mud earthen bricks, and the experience there was just out of this world. Like, I had the most fun of my life. I spent all my weekends for like 3 months. And it was a very enjoyable experience. I was in the position of a construction worker, and it was a very enjoyable experience. And then, even though it didn't hit me yet, then I was lucky enough to work with an architect that was supervising a traditional earthen building here in Nicosia. And I remember it was middle of August, the hottest period in Cyprus. It was like 45 degrees outside, and we had a side meeting. And we just stood inside, and we had no AC, no nothing, and I could feel the difference between the outside and the inside. And at that moment, I had the click of really merging the idea of enjoying the process of building, and really understanding that the value of material in the performance and the thermal comfort of buildings, and then also the fact that materials back then in traditional constructions were taken from very local distances. So I had that moment. It was in 2016. And then I decided to go and get specialized in earth as a building material. And so I'm specialized in that now. And right now I work mostly with rehabilitation and renovation projects, but also with new bottom-up projects and installations of various scales using earth, of course, but also other geosourced materials like stone and bio-based materials like reed, cane, straw, that are found locally. And also I really relate to your research about circular economy and how that really sparked a aha moment for you. I'm also an independent researcher, and I research degrowth. I don't know if you're familiar with degrowth. So my research is on degrowth, understandings and manifestations of infrastructural sustainability, and more specifically as pertaining to buildings that have to do with agriculture and food. So for example, grain storage warehouses, cold rooms, etc. And what does it mean to have these kinds of buildings, agri-food buildings, in alternative economic systems, alternative economic paradigms? I think that's a more important word, paradigm, to change the value system of an economic system. So yeah, it's a quite similar history, I think.
Yeah. Cool that we were brought together.
Yeah, I'm very happy as well.
This is just the beginning. You don't know yet, but so yeah, thank you for taking the initiative to introduce you to each other. And the first question I asked was what was your first challenge, if you can remember, starting a new path? If you can remember, what was your first challenge? And then what is your biggest challenge today to see? I'm curious to see the changes through time.
Yeah. I think so. So my first challenge is sort of that. So I had a sort of like a job where I worked sort of like 80 hours a week, right? So this is sort of, because this is event and shows and stuff like so. And I decided that taking a year off, I would not work so hard anymore, right? So 80 hours a week, that's not normal. So I decided already that I would like to return to my old job at the interior building company, but then part-time, because I really liked it that I would sort of like have 2 days of exploring and researching things. And so I went back and I said to them, I had a big eye-opener. So I really would like to come back to work there because, we still need money in. But I would like to come and change the way we work into a more sustainable and more circular one. And then they said, super cool, but, because I wasn't the cheapest one because I was already old, right? So how do you sort of like, how do we facilitate it? But I was also a very good project manager. So they was like, oh my God. And we lose a good project manager and we're having someone working on sustainability that doesn't bring in any money. So how are we going to do this? So they started negotiating with me. And this is always super interesting. And then they said, but then for 1 day a week, you still need to do projects. And I was like, but I really hate it, right? I really hated doing that. I was so done with this, like the timeline of doing projects, right? It's always the same thing. The client comes with big plans, super idealistic. They want gold, but they don't have the money to build something with gold, sort of. And then, so it's always at the end, there is some disappointment because, all discussions about money, and at the end there's a party and then we have fun. So, and it's over and over again, right? And but then I thought, what? If this is the deal that I have to make, let's do it. But then I started negotiating again. I will only do sustainable projects. And so this is sort of like the first the problem that I had to overcome. But then at the end, it turned out to be the best thing I've ever done, because then I could sort of like think about something and test it. immediately. And this is sort of like if you have like these quick projects, right? Then you have iterations every 3 months. So you can do an exhibition and then let's do another. Let's try another one. And let's try another one. So that was really good. But also the possibility to attract projects and also just to say, yeah, of course I can build your interior. And I know you don't have any sustainable or circular wishes, but I'm going to do it this way. So, yeah. For some people, this was also a challenge to work with me then, because they were a bit afraid. Because, oh God, Marije is there. Now I need to, can I talk about my flights on my holiday? Can I still, talk about I'm eating meat and these things, right? But yeah, just to sort of push it. There's no way out. If you work with me, now it's sustainable. Because I could have, if you've seen something, if you had this aha moment, you cannot do it in another way anymore. Of course, I'm not being perfect. I also have a reality sense, of course. But this is, I think the urge to do it in this way, because you cannot unseen what you've learned. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Then it's really, I think it's really hard to build still buildings, I can imagine, in the old traditional way with plasterboard, with plastic paint over it. And then you come in and then you need the air conditioning in and all the systems in. I met this Max Draf. He was involved in one of my first 100% bio-based building projects. That was the aim. And he said it was his dream to build a self-sufficient house, sort of like with only bio-based materials, and but there's no installation needed, whatever, right? And it's not a house, but like really like an office building. And I really would like to see that dream come true. Yeah. Yeah.
In this first challenge, and do you relate to that, or you remember yours?
I didn't try to, I was not working with someone at the point where I made that transition, so I didn't have that struggle per se, but I did have some personal struggles because sustainability interest was my interest since I was a student. But I think the personal struggles throughout these years and leading up to my specialization in Earth were struggles of understanding, pinpointing, and then separating myself from some paradoxes and inconsistencies that we can see in the discourse of sustainability. For example, a very famous one is greenwashing, obviously, where you label something as green even though it's inherently not actually green, which is very common in architecture. But what's another aspect that really struck me, and I still think about it often since I'm working with natural materials, is this allure to nature fallacy. I don't know if you heard about this term.
No.
Basically, it's the irrational idea and very uncritical idea that something is good just because it's natural. It's very reductionist, and we see it a lot in like product as consumers. When we see something labeled as natural, we have this allure, we are attracted to that, and it's called the allure to nature fallacy. So I think it's a very easy trap that we can fall into. And I, as someone who believes in natural materials, have to be very careful about it, and have to be very critical about it. When does it actually make sense to use natural materials? Does it make sense to use natural materials even though they come from India or whatever? Even though we can't extract cement from Cyprus, for example. This is just an example. I think it's a quite dangerous thing to. We see a lot that is used in pseudoscience or a lot of other manifestations, not just architecture, where natural is being branded as something that is inherently good. It could be, but it could be not. So this is a struggle that I was feeling a bit uncomfortable with a lot of things that I would hear from people working with also natural materials, like evangelizing as if like it's the best and there's no other thing. I was struggling to overcome that, and now I think I recognize the complexities, and I recognize that complex things can coexist. And I think that's quite powerful. To have that realization.
Okay.
I think that was one of my personal struggles as I was transforming. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So that one came from within, and what I understand from Marije, it came from her environment, because you were already in an environment that had expectations from you, and this one came more from within.
Exactly.
You accepting others' realities. And okay. Thank you.
It's funny because when you feel something so passionately, you want to feel like it's the only way.
Yeah.
So that struggle of having all that passion, but at the same time feeling like, okay, things can be complex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that this is also the complexity is also of course, we want to have a deep dive in it, right? Because it's sort of like we feel it and we urge it and we suck up all the knowledge that we have, right? But not everyone has that time. And of course, we all have sort of like this simple dinosaur brain that sort of like helps us, like green, eco, and then it should be good, right? And I also have this realization of working on Intermatter, this material library that I have, clarifying what is a sustainable material, is saying, this is, a lot of designers like to make these mood boards with fancy, like super, whatever they want for their interior. And I say, choosing a sustainable material is of course good, but what are you doing with these materials? Because you can still throw them away. So it's sort of how do you take care of them, and how do you make sure that they are maintained and in a good way and not thrown away, because I'm in this temporarily industry. But this is always very hard to address. It's people want just a quick way out, right? And there is no way out. There's no quick way, sort of like no easy way. Yeah.
Okay. So if I can follow up with the next question, just for me also to understand the path, because you both are talking about a challenge you faced in 2016, 2018, so there has been some years since that moment. And what are your challenges today? And are they different than the first ones? How do you see those challenges evolving for you as a person?
I think we have to accept that we don't know. And so of course, my work is as a consultancy. I need to give answers, right? I need to help and guide people, right? But and as I just said, people want sort of like the quick fix and the easy way out, right? And to sort of like, how do I manage everything? And I think to accept that we don't know and that we work from there, everything also what is happening in the world, the solutions that you find out today can be different for tomorrow, right? And but working from that not knowing makes a lot of people feel unsafe. And and I'm sort of like, I'm an explorer. I have always been, like my dad taught me how to cycle around the world. And I like to cycle paths that are sort of, I'd like to cycle on a path, but I'm okay with not knowing where to go. But you also should realize that a lot of people are really freaking out on that one. So, but if you give space for this and open it up and saying it's okay not to know, we are going to work this out together, then I think that would sort of like help a lot of people. And if you are, if you don't have headspace or you don't feel safe enough now, just leave it for now, right? Then the others will find out and create this new path for you. But the stress that people have, and then also I think sort of like the frustration that a lot of people have of that it's not easy and it's not so simple to do is now at this moment my biggest problem. Yeah. Working from not knowing, from nothingness, create something that could fail. Yeah, and it does fail. Yeah. But we're just trying, and we make every step, and then oops, one step back, and then we take 2 steps two steps in front. That's good, and then we take 1 step back, and then you wake up another day, and then something new happens, and some things work automatically, super simple, and then the other one is like out of the system, like what happens in nature.
Very common for people who work with unconventional things. For example, I can share that as well because I'm working with something that has no rules and regulations, no standards, no nothing. So like a lot of times I don't know, and there's a lot of, I can't find also people that can collaborate. So I have to take some decisions, and but it contradicts, in our process to try to convince people as well. But I think it's important if you want to bring people on board, if you want to convince people, you have to be honest from the start that this is something also unconventional and a bit more complex than still things that you have in the market already, standardized, everything ready with a paper and and all that. Yeah.
I think that this is in general the gamble you make when you dream.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a dream and a package. That the package has everything written, but the dream, who knows? I think, in my opinion, this is the difference. Okay.
I'd say my current struggle, a lot of people would think that my struggle would be to convince Cypriots to build with these kinds of materials. A lot of people have this idea that Cypriots would be very hard to convince, but I think I'm lucky enough because we, as a community, we have experience of living or spending time in such buildings. So it's actually very easy to convince because people have experienced. The memory of experience is very strong, and we have that here. So I'm lucky. But I think what I'm really, really struggling with is navigating and thriving, because it's very important also to thrive in a society that is plagued by complacency. Do you know what complacency is? Effichasmos in Greek. I like the Greek word because it has the notion of silence, of not being able to speak up. It's basically the notion of being satisfied with the status quo, not willing to be uncomfortable, to take action into changing things. And I struggle with that a lot. I find it a big boundary. It's easy to convince people, but then it's very hard to take that conviction that it's already there in Cypriots into action. Like there's a gap in there, and it's actually very difficult to form collaborations. And to find people to share that excitement for action. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say that.
I think I also recognize this. It's sort of I'm a very actional person because I just started doing things, right? Okay, if you don't do it, I will take the screwing machine and the sewing machine, and I will cut it in pieces and make it for you. But I only have two hands, so I need other ones to do it as well. And but I also feel that people are really comfortable in talking about it. And I'm so tired of that one, of pilots. And don't talk about the word pilot anymore. I recognize this. Yeah.
I didn't know that existed in the Netherlands as well.
Yeah, no, we are really good. We are really good talkers, and of course, there's a lot of things being done, right? But it's really hard. Somehow, I think lately I've heard it, the pilot paradox, and because we sort of like keep on sort of like looping things, right? So we are trying to, and because somehow there is budget to do pilot, but there's not budget to scale up, and to and that's. That's really, and I think that the collaborations, what you say, is really vital. And I sort of like hang on to the ones who are doing it, and I see that family companies who are looking a little bit further than just their stock holders, or like the aandeelhouders. I don't know how you say this, the owners of the company who have only money visions, right? But I think it's sort of looking at the low-hanging fruit, who are willing to do it and try to make that happen. But it's sometimes you just want to aim for the bigger, like the bigger ones. So it's like, hey, pick this up and make it, use it, because it's all this knowledge that it's already out there. And
I was just going to say that I have a big problem with academia, because there's a lot of money being put into creating new knowledge. And this is what you're saying about a lot of money being put into pilot programs, and not money being put into how you take into that existing how to take that existing knowledge and put it into practice.
Yeah.
And this is a huge issue in Cyprus, because there's all the knowledge when it comes to natural building materials in Cyprus, and the science of it is there, but there's a huge gap between what's happening in legislation, in action, and there's no attempts to bridge that. So I think it's very valid what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, what I now see in the Netherlands is we call it, it's called circular law. And this is someone who is has been working for the government and for cities, and he is now trying to find the gaps in laws and regulations. And he's trying to find the gaps in law and regulations for the cities and for the government, to sort of like become, because you need. There's not like a tough line, right? There's sort of like this gray area in between, right? So where can you do things? And he is sort of like making this visible. So for me, this is really like, I thought this is the way, because it's super practical. It's from Arjan Hassing. He is working on this. And so it's using, circular law. It's using the system to create and to showcase, hey, if you are, I don't know, for example, reusing wood that is not certified, right? Because it's used and it's old, right? It doesn't have the stamp saying this is a strong piece of wood. And then so he sort of like finds the rules in between it, sort of. So for all these things and all these steps, it's super interesting to work on this one. If this is like the legislation is some of your burdens, then and you need a creative person who also knows how this works, because don't talk about law to me and regulations to me, but this is also why I always say to a lot of people who are inventing new materials, I say, try them in the interior industry. There's not so many. You don't need certification so much. It's really very easy to do things there, and there's also a little bit more money if you make your material a bit sexy. But But this is I really like these kind of sort of like in between tweezers, sort of who use the system as it is, and find ways. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, this one is a serious one, I know, because I'm an architect like Artemis, and I can feel the frustration you have, because we have these sustainability projects in Cyprus about improving your energy consumption by adding
Energy
insulation.
efficiency. Yeah.
And it's really sad because the insulation that we can add is this wool and XPS.
Plastic, petrol.
But you cannot put
Natural fibers.
Natural fibers or an adobe brick, because it doesn't have a certain value in their tests, and this is very frustrating because you cannot use the knowledge that you have and is working just because this value is not there constantly.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating. So people, like what you say, circular, is really, I will check it and maybe.
Yeah, it's very important. I think we should do something like that in Cyprus too.
Yeah. I think this isolation thing, there's now this person, a business, it's a small business, it's a person who sort of like started to isolate with bio-based materials, and he says, I got so many questions, right? So now he made a whole platform only about isolation, and it's all, and I just said to I've been building a few pavilions, and this is really at the beginning of sort of trying to connect with all the stakeholders involved, and also like the agriculture, right? And also with the farmers, going from animal farming to agricultural farming, and then making building materials out of that one. And then I said, well, we should also make sort of like open source construction methods, right? You can use sheep wool, but then you need to do this and this and this, or you need to make it this thick, right? Share this knowledge, because it's so... Yeah, right. And also for renovation, it's sort of what can you do when you have a 70s built house, right? So,
but unfortunately, we're in a system where you need patent stuff in order to be able to sell them, So it's very...
Yeah, but there's so much out there. He says, oh no, it's already out there. Yeah. So it's... I don't know the name of his platform, but it's very Dutch, I think. Because in the Netherlands, of course, there's also a lot of, you need to have certifications, it needs to have a life cycle and an EPD, else you cannot use it, like especially not for governmental projects. So, which is really good, because then things are being pushed. But it's sort of, he knows how to, because you cannot build with experiments only. We can try and of course, with small houses maybe, but if you're building like big construction things, you need to have secureness in this. Yeah.
Sure, makes sense.
Okay. I think this discussion comes naturally to the next question that I had. But I don't know if we have time, by the way. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So I themed it like the meaningful against the chewing gum. As Artemis said, is like you have the word sustainability used almost everywhere. You see it being promoted, and people are confused what is really sustainable now. So the question that I have for you as an experienced person in this world, the sustainable world, truly experienced, is what would be your advice when it comes to where to search for two sources of sustainable thinking, at least for your expertise? So you named one, this circular, and you are doing your platform. So it's one way to guide people to really see this is really sustainable, or it's just a label that says green. I'm curious about your thoughts on that, and maybe your advices to the broader audience.
Wow. You go first.
Oops. I can't really say that I have a go-to resource, but I do read a lot of research because I'm also a researcher, so it's part of my practice to research a lot. But I try to, it's the problem that I was mentioning before, that academia just stays in producing knowledge. And I think a big resource for me is academia that actually works on bringing theory into practice. Another element is architects, organizations, collectives that are critical about how the architectural production is happening right now, like the conventional means of architectural production. And for example, a collective that I have a lot of respect for is Architects Can, which is based in the UK, and they're activists, and they speak up on social ecological issues and the role of the architect in that, and of course. Is indigenous knowledge and actually looking at how things were done pre-industrially. I think that has a lot of, it's very rich in answers, in solutions of how things were done bioclimatically and mostly passively. And how waste was minimized, how reuse was happening, how they were incorporating all other practices. For example, agriculture and architecture were closely connected. So there's a lot of knowledge already, how water was collected. A lot of knowledge is already there. So if you go outside in Nicosia, in the city center, and you start studying the buildings and where the little windows were placed, that's a very potent resource, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's indeed it's good to always look around you and see how things are being made, right? And of course it depends also on the kind of person that you are, right? So I'm really a visual person, so I like to see things. So as a cabinet maker, I've learned also to touch and feel things. So it also makes me look different at things. Of course, when I'm sitting on a table, I always go with my hands underneath the table to see how it's constructed, right? So this is how I see the world. And but I think, as we start with this aha moment where you also felt that something changed for you, I think as a maker, for me, it really helps to do things, to go out there. So, and of course, you can go to events and presentations and whatever, and listen, of course, to this podcast. But if you really want to, in whatever industry or sector you want to go to, get your hands dirty. Just go out there and get your hands in the mud. Go to this waste company, just book a tour, right? Or I went over with my little niece with her school to the waste company and see how those big were collecting the waste, right? And I could also see how they were recycling it or not recycling it, and also the struggles they had there. And I was, but also to screw like 1,000 screws in benches and just to make a growing pavilion, right? It's supposed to be bio-based 100%, but there are 1,000 screws in there, in and out, in and out. And I think that if you see this and then you work with the people together, and then you can discuss things, I think it's super valuable, because then you start to see things more when you're doing things with your hands and your mind, and you can smell it. You can smell the materials, and you can, stand with your hands and your feet in the mud, sort of. I think these are experiences that will stick with you. But if you are like a really theoretical person, then read a lot of stuff. But then you will find it anyway. But going out there and meet the persons who are doing it, and, volunteer, stick your hands out and do it then yourself. Yeah.
Okay. I'm asking this question because now I think the biggest challenge today is misinformation. And from what I understand from both your answers is that it also is in the essence of sustainable thinking, which is a mindset, is that you don't just search helpmesustainabilityplease.com, but you really try and try things out, because we are learned discomfort that you just type it and you get an answer.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. So I'm happy to hear it also from you, that it's by trying, which is the most natural way also.
Yeah. Hopefully in the future there will be a bit more resources, more easily accessible resources, let's say. Or what Marije was saying before, that everything, that this knowledge needs to be put in open access.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully there's more of that and easily found.
Yeah. I think, well, these are, I guess, some first steps, and it's growing, of course, this community.
There's nothing more certain for me that this will become.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to sustain, right?
Yeah. Okay. And then the last two questions I have, it's about tomorrow's seed. And before I go to my last question, that is, if sustainability is a seed, how do you plant it in your daily rituals? You already mentioned something, but before going to the seed, I would like to understand from both of you, what is for you really sustainable? Because I guess everyone has their own opinion about it, but if I can ask you directly, how could you define sustainability? And it can be personal. I think the more personal, the more beautiful.
So you want to go ahead?
Yes, well, if you're talking about sustainability and personally, then I'm sort of like, I'm so bad at this, right? I'm still working these 80 hours and I'm so not taking care of myself. So this is like the first thing that I really fail at. But I was once asked to become a board member of an social enterprise, and I was asked to represent Mother Earth. And I thought, okay, who am I to represent Mother Earth, right? And so the first thing I did in the first meeting, sort of like discussing how we would do this, right? I brought some beans with me. Like it was, I'm not having one here because I have a lot of them, because I'm giving them away, they're constantly. So if you're talking about a seed, and I gave it to all the other board members, one was the financial one and the other one, whatever, but they were representing. And I said to them, so I freshly picked it from, because it was in August, September sort of. And I said, so now you have, the beans were still in their green shell. And I said, now you can decide what you're going to do with this. You can open it, cook it, and eat it. And it's gone. It's good. You have a full belly. Or you could dry it and save it. And then eat it when you're really hungry, right? So when you really need it. Or you could sow it again and then make more out of it. And or you could even share it with other people. And I think this is sort of looking at nature and see how nature sort of survives, because sustainability is sustaining. I think we should copy the way it works, but also the way how we are using it. And I also feel that I think it has to do with the pyramid of Maslow, right? So first you need to be sustainable for yourself, right? Socially, you need to have a house, you need to have enough income, your family needs to be healthy, and then you start thinking about luxury. And so it could be that you are the one who just needs food now, so just eat the beans, right? And luckily, I am the one who can put them in the ground and make more out of it, because I have enough food already. And I think I would like to give that as a takeaway. I'm not sure if this is an answer.
I think what I'm taking away is that you're saying that sustainability is not a one-size-fits-all solution, that it means different things for different people. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be one way or another.
This is
what
why
I'm taking.
no. This is why I ask for you personally, but not personally. what you do personally about it, but what you think personally about it. But yeah.
Well, because I think sustainability, talking about sustainability and making things more sustainability, is a kind of luxury thing. If for example you are a person who just, I don't have a house. Why should I care about sustainability? Sustainability means for me now having a place to sleep, warm, nice. And I think so. So for every person, there's a different level in this, right? And so where is your focus point? So for me, I am able to do this, but this is like a really privileged luxury. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And you?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's a very difficult question.
Yeah.
And I've never actually thought about it.
Okay.
I just I think it kind of it's understood by me through the research that I do in the growth, but I never actually put it into words. But if I try to, I guess it's doing your best for the long-term well-being of a community, and that includes, and for your ecosystem, and that includes humans and non-humans. Yeah, if I put it into simple words, I think that's it. It's to think about the long term, but as you said, it's also is a luxury. So I do think it's a term that is not to be expected by everyone. But yeah, does it make sense what I said?
Yeah. I mean, I understand the part of it. For me, I think the word luxury, maybe that's the whole issue we have with sustainability, because it's very easy to say that sustainability is a luxury, but for me, a luxury is more of a mindset. For me, if I feel that tomorrow I can wake up and there will be a world, it's the most natural thing to do. And maybe if I have a sleep tonight, not, but if I wake up and I open my eyes that the world is there in a better state, it's something very natural and not a luxury. And it's something that I learned actually from Artemis, because we know each other for some time, and she made me think actually that I am who I am, of course, but it's very beautiful to look people around you and to understand that you are sharing all this together. So that's why I don't accept seeing it as a luxury, because I know that you don't use the word luxury, you do a lot of sacrifices, of course. I know that you don't mean, oh, it's a luxury and it's something additional.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe for you it's not a luxury, but maybe for someone who, as Marije mentioned, the Winslow, is that what it's called? The Maslow pyramid, is that first you need to cover your basic needs of eating, of being safe, of being I think it's eating and being safe, I think, is the first thing. Then
having a shelter.
Then after having a shelter, and after finding love, and after fulfilling your personal passions or whatever. Like, for example, you cannot ask. I remember talking about what I wanted to study. I was in France learning French in order to be able to do my specialization course in Earthen architecture. And I was talking with a classmate of mine learning French. He was from Syria, and he was an immigrant in France. And I was talking to him very passionately about this thing that I'm going to study. And he basically told me, I really don't think about that at all. Like my concerns are so different from yours. You know,
I understand that.
so I think that this is the difference of luxury. I think the luxury is the fact that we are quite high on the pyramid. So we're able to think about things that are not just our safety and our kids and our basics.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I understand that. In my reaction to that would be that actually the reason why we don't have a luxury is because we are not sustainable. This is how I see it, but I understand also.
No, we don't have the luxury not to do it, right? We don't have the luxury not to do it.
I remember the story that my father used to tell me in the village. You had one goat, okay? But one goat is not enough for, I don't know, halloumi. I don't know if you know halloumi. You should know. But very good. So in the village, one goat is not enough. So you know that on Monday, Olga, my grandmother, would take 4 goats, and then the next day she will give her goat to the neighbor. So that's why I think it's not a luxury, it's how you think about things. But I understand what you mean by luxury, of course, and what is happening around us nowadays, of course. There are more important things. This is how I see it, that because we don't apply it enough, the sustainability, that's why we are searching for luxury, because it's there, it's in the sustainability.
I think if we're talking about the past was already sustainable. I think
where did it go wrong? Huh?
I think it's called, I think we know the name, but especially, you know, the industrialization, you know, it's called the Great Acceleration, you know, where things just became so much faster.
Super efficiency, machines. Yeah.
And it's funny because I hear a lot of people talking about eco-villages and trying to create an eco-village and so on. But I live in a village in Cyprus, and it fits the definition in most cases where there's a lot of community support, there's a lot of sharing, it's already there. Like we don't have to create something new. So I think it's related to the notion of the past. But yeah.
Okay. These were my questions. I don't know if you have anything to add, but yeah, you covered me fully for now. And I hope next meeting we'll have Circulo with us too. And
yes.
Alexis is very lucky. I tease him a lot, so I didn't tease him. So you're lucky.
Being able to be teased is great.
Yeah. No, but it's really nice to that you brought us together, that we can learn again from each other. And it's always nice to, you know, your questions are really sort of like, overthink also the work that you're doing, right? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for your energy. And really, we look forward to meet you here in Cyprus one day. It will be nice.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that one.